A single Bitcoin transaction creates as much waste as throwing out two iPhones. Economists find. There it is. The energy FUD is back again, saying that it takes the weight of two iPhone minis. Oh, that seems unfair. Why not just one iPhone? Why two minis? And they say because Bitcoin miners cycle through a growing amount of short lived hardware. So now it's the hardware from Bitcoin mining that's the problem. We talk about this all the time on this show because we think it's an important issue that the media is going to keep bringing up. Dan, is this the reason the price is down? Two iPhone minis. So for each transaction, so that means I'm just sitting on like a pile of iPhones over here. Like you can't see, but behind me, nothing but iPhone minis all the way down.
Right, it's just another kind of fork of the general environmental concern, isn't it? So now they've obviously the electricity consumption is the main one, and now they're like, oh, what else can we moan about? And now they're picking the e-waste, right? Now, obviously, e-waste is pretty bad. You know, we use a lot of rare earth metals and we churn through stuff, but why not then say, well, Apple, do you really need to bring out a new type of MacBook every year? In fact, do you need to bring out three types of MacBook every year? Do you need to bring out four types of iPhone? You know, the 13, what is it? The 13, the 13 mini, the 13 Pro, and the 13 Pro Max. And I actually go through it to very much environmentalist to pay probably about three iPhones a year just through incompetence and dropping them. So they probably really hate me as well as the Bitcoin transactions. But waste is like, again, it's all down to what you think is waste, right? And if ultimately anything where you're not using the absolute necessity, you know, the bare minimum necessity is waste. You could say that humans can survive on, can actually survive on 1,000 calories a day. So anything above that is waste, and therefore we're killing the planet. You can say that, you know, anything like I saw an amazing one I saw was, and there was a whole article on this because people have a lot to moan about, and during a pandemic and lockdowns, they've got a lot of time to moan about stuff and research how to moan. But for example, where was it? Okay, opening the fridge keeping the browsing in the fridge. That was it, fridge browsing. Did you know that when you're fridge browsing for more than, you know, that's a waste? Like if you have a moped instead of a car, and you don't like cart stuff about with you a lot that you need a car for, that's a waste. Like everything's a waste. If you live in a house where there's more than one room, you could say that's a waste. Why do you need more than one room? You could live quite capably in less than a room. So I think, you know, you can say that anything is a waste, really, if you look at it and break it down, and anything that you have or consume is a waste. If you know, I don't know, it just seems like it's moaning for moaning's sake, and we're definitely in a moany society right now. You know, people, it's very much a victim-based, you know, like mentality that we have, you know, rather than like when I was growing up, it's about being a hero and doing something good and blah blah blah, and now it's about like being a victim and clicking on a you know, what's it called, on a petition online, and that makes you a hero now. They're like, oh, I signed 10 petitions a day, I'm a hero because I signed petitions on the line. You know, that's a waste, right? Because when you're browsing petitions that you don't agree with, you're wasting time, you're wasting energy. And so, yeah, I don't know, we live in a disposable society, and it's really bad. But whether you can, you know, moan about computer hardware that's used for a reason, it's got a purpose, it's securing a network, it's not even leisure. You know, everyone needs money. Like every society needs money to function. What you don't technically need to function, let's be honest, is like, say, for example, and I'm not picking on the theatre, but something like theatre, right? Where you've got, for argument's sake, you've got a massive place with loads of spare room that's only used for certain periods during the day, right? That's a waste, right? And not everyone likes the theater, so not everyone likes Bitcoin. So we can moan about that. We can moan about theater. You can find anything to moan about. Rant over. Sorry, but yeah, I think it's just moaning for moaning's sake, and we should all go back to like mud huts and living underground and not consuming anything if that's the case.
Well, I agree with Dan here. It very much depends on what your priorities are. Back when the internet was just starting up, people were like, why are they wasting all their time building this internet? Look at all these computers and all the electricity. And people are looking at screens all the time and they're getting dumber. And the radio and rock music and all these things are going to destroy society. So it's another one of those. It's fun to see the way it shifted from too much electricity usage, and they're trying to scare people. They're like, Bitcoin uses as much electricity as this country, as that country, as this country combined with that country. But it's not working. No one knows anything about these countries. Nobody's ever been to them. So now they're trying iPhones. But even then, they can't be genuine. They can't be just saying it's as good as one iPhone. They have to say, no, it's as bad as two iPhone minis. I've never even seen an iPhone mini. They had terrible sales figures. I can't believe they brought the product back. And I can't believe that the best example these scientists have is two iPhone minis. Why not just say one iPhone?
And
Because it's
also,
scarier if you say two iPhone minis. Go ahead, Dan.
and and also just that to do such lazy analysis really, and to just say two iPhones, right? What about the components in them? How about how they were sourced, what materials they came from, what the impact of those materials was? It's a really lazy analysis. So like bit like shameful, more shameful journalism that just goes that picks something based on weight, right? Because not all weighted things are equal. Like, I was going to say a ton of feathers and a ton of bricks, but they're obviously completely different, right? One had loads of chickens and one's loads of quarry. I don't know, but the fact is, but they're two different things. Like there could be way more corrosive or bad materials or whatever in the iPhones. You've got no idea. There could have been the process and the manufacturing process of refining those materials could be 1,000 times worse than the equivalent weight in mining. So lazy journalism. And if you've got so much bloody time on your hands during this lockdown pandemic-y type thing, then do a bit more research and give us a breakdown of the bill of materials, please. And then I will heed your advice.
The other problem there is that the people mining the Bitcoin network are doing their best to reduce costs. If they could find a way to do it without these machines, they would. And in many cases, they have moved to hydroelectric dams and other locations to get the power. Whereas Apple and everyone that's making, and as much as I like these phones and everything, they're the fast fashion of technology, right? I got the new phone last year, the new phone this year, it's no good, right? There's no little modules I can pull out. I can't even upgrade the battery anymore. This leads to a cycle where people are turning over their phones every year, and maybe they're refurbished and maybe they go to someone else, and hopefully that works. But the idea you're saying is true. We're filling up the landfills with these phones. That's probably why they used it as an example. Unfortunately, that example betrays itself because it goes back to this idea of, well, why do we have so many iPhone minis? And why do we have so many iPads and so many other competing iPads and other companies? And it's because, we can make anything we want. And people value Bitcoin mining. Shock. I know they make lots of money, so there's a reason for them to value it. And it's going to keep happening. So I don't think the media is going to make it with these articles. But they do like to scare people, and they might have depressed the price this week. Exit question, Dan. Did this article depress the price of Bitcoin? Are people so scared that we're throwing away so many iPad minis, so many iPhone minis in exchange for these transactions?
Yeah, well, sadly, it did have a wide impact. All I could see on Twitter was people that were crying and they literally gave away their Bitcoin. They said, "Oh, I can't believe that." Even in fact, they didn't even they threw away their private keys and they were like, "Oh, I can't even spend my Bitcoin and donate it because it's like throwing away two iPhones." It had such a huge impact. It's a real shame that it had to end this way. But yeah, thanks for your amazing article on your two iPhone minis.